Charles, we like to take the email questions that come in to you guys at Pelleton Capital, and just kind of talk about these with folks, because if it's happening to one person, probably happening to someone else, or at least something similar.
Yep, absolutely. That's the whole idea of these. It's always interesting too when you see them and you start to find out. You read the question and then it's like, okay, I have like a zillion questions back
Right.
at you. So that's sort of the premise of why I think these make sense to
Oh,
spend
yeah.
a little time on and just
Yeah.
try to clarify.
So we got Mary who sent us one email question in, and she says, my portfolio dropped quite a bit earlier this year, then recovered some, but it's still down a bit from where it was at its peak. I'm retired and rely totally on this money for income because I haven't started taking Social Security yet. I've been wanting to wait till 70 to max it out. But now I'm wondering if I should turn it on earlier. So when people come to you, Charles, and they're kind of in this boat, what's some things to think about?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the idea of waiting to 70 and not any longer than that. That makes perfect sense. 70 is the maximum benefit you're going to get from all of the dollars that have gone in coming back to you from Social Security. So that's a good way to look at it. The other thing that I have to ask is, why did your portfolio, if you're just relying on it for income, why did you have such a dip in the value? It sounds like you've got way more portfolio risk in there than you probably think you do. You don't want to just have bonds or bond ETFs or mutual funds, just that, but you want to have something that minimizes the risk for you, still gives you a reasonably decent rate of return. And that's the other thing that we would want to ask is, so what's the kind of rate of return that you want to get off this bond portfolio? If you're taking money out of it, you want it to be very, very conservative. And, all of this comes down to, what have you got exactly? What do the numbers say? What is the value, the value proposition, if you will, of trying to create a conservative portfolio that spits out enough income that if you then, factor in the new Social Security amount, can you then take maybe a little more risk in your portfolio? But in the meantime, I would probably want to suggest, at least at the surface of this, let's ratchet back the risk and just see. The challenge is when you go to a bond-like portfolio, there are two parts of the bond risk. Bonds are fixed income is a teeter-totter. We've had this conversation before, you and I have, Mark, over the years we've done podcasts. You think of a teeter-totter. There's the value, the price of the bond, and the interest rate that the bond provides. When one goes up, the other one goes down. If interest rates go down, the price of the bond goes up, but your interest rate goes down. So it goes back and forth and back and forth. There are newer opportunities out there now that will give you a fixed income return without the interest rate risk. And we've been
I
using,
think, to her point here, she's talking about the fact that she has waited, which, many people might say that's a good thing, right? You're about 6%, I think, going from 62 to 67 full retirement age. And then it increases, 8% from 67 to 70.
Yeah.
That's a great return.
And it maxes out.
Right. And then it maxes out. But to your point, if you're taking, if the portfolio she's got has been dripping more than she wants or drooping more than she wants, then maybe first thing that you need to take a look at is the risk, your risk allocation.
Yeah. What do you own? Because it's really easy to see, and people, I want to own fixed income and it gives me a crappy interest rate because most of them do. And, but then I don't understand how come it goes down in value. So it's not knowing exactly if what you have fits what you want. And that's just a conversation. We just start asking questions like we always do and get people to the point where they understand what they have. And if they, are looking for an alternative to that, then we'll share that with them. If they just want to know,
and you
why
guys
is he
can
doing
run the
this?
break-even conversation too, right? As to so for people like this who are like, hey, I'm thinking about waiting till 70 versus turning it on early, because that's always a big question with Social Security.
Yep.
It's easy to kind of go, okay, let's run an analysis and see what your break-even point is. If you live to this certain age, then turning it on at this age versus that age maybe makes more sense, correct?
Well, that's right. And the numbers what we've done over the years always come out to somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 or 14 years. If you took it early, you'd get less, but you'd get it sooner. And if you, from the time you think you want to turn it on, If you live 13 or 14 years, then you will have made more money by waiting.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's no hard and fast rule
No.
like it's 81 or something like
No,
that.
no, not at all.
Okay.
So it's when you're trying to juggle Social Security, it becomes a little trickier. And when you combine that with a bond portfolio, which is what I'm assuming she's got, although she doesn't have enough, it seems, because she's got a lot more equity risk in it, then you just need to reallocate. That's really what I would say it boils down to. But you got to know what you want. And we got to know what you want, or we can't help.
Ready to learn more? Get a complimentary review of your retirement landscape today. Reach out to Charles and Sherry at Pelleton Capital. Don't wait and let time pass you by. Sit down and build a rock-solid strategy that keeps the focus on you and your family. Visit Pelleton Capital or click the link in the show description. And don't forget to subscribe to Financial Choices Matter on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll tackle a few more email questions along the way. This has been Financial Choices Matter with Charles Scott.
Financial planning and investment advisory services are provided by Pelleton Capital Management Limited, a state-registered investment advisor. Past performance is not indicative of future results. No one should assume the information presented here serves as a receipt of or substitute for personalized individual advice provided by Pelleton Capital Management. For more information, visit www.pelletoncapital.com.